The air of Yar Novar. The planet of the Colossi was dense and filled with unknown essences that irritated the lungs of any human. Captain Ienis descended from the transport ship, feeling the fixed gaze of the titanic warriors surrounding him. Each of them stood over 8 feet tall, with muscles sculpted as if by a divine artist, and iridescent skin that shimmered under the rays of the 3 suns. Ienis, at 5 feet 11 inches, appeared like a child in comparison. The Balkari, as they were called, were a warrior society that had not contacted other races for centuries. Their culture was deeply rooted in physical supremacy and the purity of their lineage. They had agreed to receive a human representative, but under strict conditions. No weapons, no guards, just Ienis and his negotiation skills. An imposing figure stepped forward among the ranks. Serena, the leader of the Balkari, had an overwhelming presence. Her hair, as white as snow, cascaded down to her waist, and her purple eyes sparkled with intensity. Her voice resonated like thunder. "What brings you to Novar?" Ienis, aware that any sign of weakness could seal his fate, stood tall. "I am Captain Ienis, envoy of the Human Alliance. We seek a pact with the Balkari to combat the Kellul, a threat that does not discriminate between worlds or species." A murmur ran through the warriors. Serena crossed her arms, her gaze assessing every aspect of Ienis. "Why should we ally with an inferior species like yours? What could humans offer that we do not already possess?" Ienis knew this was his chance to prove his worth. He stepped forward, disregarding the height difference, for his survival depended on it. "The Kell will not stop until they devour everything that exists, including Tyr Novar. We need warriors like you, but you need technology like ours. Together we can resist." Serena let out a deep laugh that echoed against the crystal structures surrounding them, but her smile turned challenging. "Show me that your words are not empty. If you wish for our help, you must face me in combat. If you survive, we will consider your proposal." It was not unexpected, but Ienis felt a knot in his stomach. The Balkari warriors were legendary for their strength and ferocity. However, he had no other option. He nodded with determination. "I accept." The combat arena was a circle surrounded by warriors watching with interest. Ienis couldn't shake the feeling that he was signing his death sentence. Serena removed her ceremonial cloak, revealing armor that accentuated her impressive physique. However, what caught Ienis's attention most was the way she looked at him, as if he were a puzzle she wanted to solve. When the fight began, Serena moved with a speed that belied her size. Ienis barely dodged the first strike, feeling the wind whistle past his face. He rolled on the ground, using the environment to his advantage. Serena followed him with feline movements, but Ienis seized every opportunity to evade and counterattack. After what felt like an eternity, he managed to bring her down with an unexpected tactic, using leverage to unbalance her. Silence fell over the arena. Serena looked at him with a mix of surprise and approval. "You are more skilled than you appear, human. Perhaps you are worth more than you seem." She gracefully got back on her feet, extending a hand towards Ienis. "For now, we accept to discuss your proposal." Ienis took her hand, aware that this was only the beginning of an alliance that would change both their worlds. However, what he did not expect was that this pact would lead him to confront not only external forces, but also the internal mysteries of the Balkari, and a bond with Serena that would challenge all norms of both species. Next chapter. Bonds. Beyond the battle, the following weeks were a whirlwind of challenges and discoveries for Ienis. Despite having earned the right to negotiate, the trust of the Balkari was not easily won. Serena, who had begun as his opponent, was now becoming his guide. The leader accompanied him every step of the way, observing him with a mix of curiosity and disdain, as if searching for cracks in his emotional armor. "You are strange, human," she said one night, while they walked along the crystal balconies of the Sealer Citadel, gazing at the 3 moons of Tyr Novar. The silver light bathed Serena's iridescent skin, highlighting her majestic figure. Her white hair floated in the breeze, and Ienis had to look away to avoid seeming too fascinated. "Why?" he asked, crossing his arms. "You have the look of a warrior." But you do not fight for blood or glory. You do it for something more. What motivates you? Her tone was inquisitive, but there was something else, a softness she had not shown before. He could feel the weight of the question. Serena was more than a leader. She was a constant test. I fight because I want a future where no one else has to suffer the losses I have endured. My home was attacked by the Kells, and I watched my people die. I don't want that to happen to anyone else. His voice hardened at the end, but Serena did not look away. Your loss defines you. Serena paused, her gaze fixed on the moons. I also fight for my own. But in our case, the threat does not only come from outside. We are on the brink of extinction. Our lineage has weakened, and our youngest warriors cannot conceive without offspring. Soon, we will disappear. Enos looked at her in surprise. This detail had not been in any of the reports he had received. Why are you telling me this? He asked cautiously. Serena turned to him, her expression inscrutable. Your species is different, compatible with ours in ways we are just beginning to understand. She stepped closer, forcing him to lift his gaze to meet hers directly. Her purple eyes shone with intensity. If you truly desire an alliance, Ionis, you must be willing to do more than just speak. Dysentery. Emus felt the atmosphere between them grow heavy, charged with something he could not quite define. What are you suggesting? He asked, trying to maintain his composure. Pether. Our alliance must be more than political. If we share blood, we will share destiny. Her voice was low, almost a whisper, but each word resonated in the silence. Serena was not a woman who left room for ambiguity. What she was asking was clear. Ionis's heart raced. This was far beyond any diplomatic mission he had imagined. He knew that saying yes would change his life forever, and yet, there was something about Serena, in her strength and vulnerability, that made him consider the impossible. This is not something I can decide lightly, he finally said with sincerity. Take your time, human, but not too much. Our species does not have much time to waste. In the following days, Ionis immersed himself in the customs of the Balkari, learning their rituals, their stories, and their way of life. Serena became a constant presence, guiding him, though often with a harshness that reflected her position as a leader. As they spent more time together, Ionis began to see her differently. She was not just a leader. One night, during one of their training sessions, Serena disarmed him with a quick move, bringing him to the ground. Instead of stepping back, she stayed on top of him, her face just inches from his. Ionis, her voice low and charged with an intensity that made him temporarily forget the pain in his back. But you still fight like a human. If you want to survive here, you will have to learn to think like a Balkari. Ionis swallowed hard, aware of the closeness between them. Then teach me. I am here to learn. Serena smiled, a smile that seemed to hide more than it revealed. Be careful what you ask for, human. Some lessons are harder than you imagine. With a swift movement, she stood up and offered him her hand. Barons. Ionis took it, feeling for the first time a connection that went beyond the professional. Soon after, Serena called a war council to discuss the terms of the alliance. Ionis presented the technological resources that the human alliance could offer, but the atmosphere was tense. Some warriors were openly hostile to the idea of relying on another species. When one of the most senior warriors stood up to demand Ionis's expulsion, Serena slammed her hand on the table with a force that shook the walls. This man has proven his worth, she declared, with an authority that silenced the protests. Not only in combat but also in character. If there is any doubt about his place here, let them face him in the arena. The silence was absolute. No one dared to challenge her. Serena turned to Ionis, her eyes burning with a mix of pride and something deeper. I hope you do not make me look bad, human. Ionis nodded, feeling the weight of this entire society resting on his shoulders, but he also knew he was not alone. Serena was by his side, and though she did not say it in words, she was beginning to trust him in a way that went beyond the professional. However, both knew that the challenges were only just beginning. Next chapter. Secrets. Under the stars, the night in T. Trichy Novar was a unique spectacle. The three suns were setting, giving way to a starry sky that seemed infinite, with unknown constellations filling the horizon with mystery. Ioannis was sitting on one of the terraces of the Sealor Citadel, observing the landscape while his mind spun around the decisions he had to make. In the distance, the ritual chants of the Valkyrie echoed like a mystical echo. Serena appeared silently, as was her custom. Her imposing figure contrasted with the softness of her walk. She sat next to Ioannis without saying anything at first, simply sharing the moment. "Is it always this quiet here?" Irrigated. Ioannis finally asked, breaking the silence. "Only in appearance." Serena turned to him, her purple eyes reflecting the lights of the stars. "Distance. Beneath this calm are constant struggles, political, cultural, and personal." Ioannis nodded, feeling that her words carried a hidden weight. He knew that what he was about to say was risky, but after weeks among them, he had come to understand Serena and the Valkyrie a little better. "Is that why you mentioned the bond between us? Is it a personal struggle too?" he asked, his tone serious but tinged with vulnerability. Serena looked at him intently, evaluating him. Then she let out a sigh, something Ioannis had learned was rare for her. "I told you because we have no other option. Our species is crumbling. Infertility is not just a biological issue. It is a symptom of something deeper. We have forgotten what it means to trust others. And when I saw how you fought, how you spoke of your motives, you awakened something in me that I thought was dead." The confession took him by surprise. Serena, always strong and proud, now seemed human in her vulnerability. Ioannis did not know what to say at first, but finally found the words. "I do not know if I am the man you expected, Serena, but I am here. I am willing to try. Not just for the pact, but because I believe in you and in your people." Serena looked at him in silence, her face showing a mix of emotions. Then, without warning, she leaned in, closing the distance between them. Their lips met in a kiss charged with intensity, a mix of challenge, desire, and something deeper that they were both just beginning to comprehend. When they pulled away, Serena kept her gaze fixed on his, her eyes shining with something she had not shown before. "This will not be easy, Ioannis. If we decide to walk this path together, we will face resistance from both sides. My people will see this as a betrayal, and yours will likely not understand it either." Ioannis smiled faintly, caressing Serena's hand. "I have never been interested in easy paths." The next day, Serena called a private meeting with her closest circle of advisors. Ioannis was present, although he knew his role would mainly be to observe. The women, all as imposing as Serena, looked at him with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "Sisters," Serena began, her voice strong and clear, "we have debated for weeks about our alliance with the humans, and I have made a decision. Nature. Ioannis will not only be our link with them but also my partner." The silence in the room was so heavy that Ioannis felt it could be cut with a knife. One of the oldest advisors, Nifraya, slowly stood up, her gaze sharp as a dagger. "A partner with a human? This is unacceptable. Serena, you are tarnishing our lineage." "Serena, tarnishing our lineage," she repeated in a glacial tone. "What lineage?" "The one we have allowed to crumble out of pride and fear. Ioannis is strong, honorable, and willing to fight for us. If that is not worthy, then our issue is not infertility. It is our arrogance." Serena's argument caused several of the advisors to murmur among themselves. However, Niraya was not willing to yield. "If you insist on this, it will have to be proven once more. A bond with a human will not be accepted without demonstrating that he can be one of us." Ioannis did not need much to understand what Niraya meant. Serena looked at him, her expression grave but confident. "Are you willing?" Ioannis. "This will not be a physical combat, but something much deeper." Ioannis knew that his answer would determine his future in T.J. Novar and likely his life. He nodded. "I am willing." The ritual that Niraya demanded was not something Ioannis had expected. He was taken along with Serena to a hidden chamber within the mountains, a space illuminated by bioluminescent crystals that emitted a soft, warm light. The walls were engraved with ancient inscriptions, and in the center was an altar surrounded by crystal-clear water. Serena explained softly as they walked towards the altar. This is the rite of concord, a ceremony that has not been performed for centuries. If we complete it, you will prove your worth not only to me but to all my people. but it requires that we be completely synchronized, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Enos swallowed hard. And what happens if we fail? Serena did not respond immediately. Finally, she said, "We will not fail." The ceremony began, with both of them standing in front of the altar. Serena placed her hands on Enos' shoulders, her eyes burning with an intensity that was almost supernatural. A connection was established between them, a bond that Enos felt as a torrent of emotions and thoughts flowing in both directions. He could sense Serena's scent, her loss, but also her hope and determination. As the connection deepened, the crystals began to glow more intensely. Enos felt something change within him, as if a part of Serena was integrating into his being. At the same time, he could feel that she was also absorbing something from him. When it was all over, both fell to their knees, breathing heavily. The inscriptions on the walls now glowed with a golden hue, and those who had observed in silence slowly bowed before them. The rite is complete. Serena, you have chosen well. Enos and Serena shared a glance laden with meaning. They knew this was just the beginning, but for the first time, they felt truly connected. The days following the Rite of Concord transformed the atmosphere in HFY Novar. The golden inscriptions that had illuminated the altar during the ceremony seemed to have awakened something profound. The city of Selor, the crystals adorning the city, emitted a warmer and more vibrant light. The warriors, though still reluctant, began to observe Enos with a mix of respect and curiosity. Serena and Enos spent hours in meetings with the Valkyrie leaders, establishing the terms of the alliance with the human alliance. However, the true test of their bond was yet to come. Naraya, always distrustful, insisted that the Rite of Concord must be more than a mere symbolic demonstration. The Valkyrie lineage needs more than political alliances, she said one night during a meeting. We need deeds, not words. If this human is worthy, he must be able to do what no other union has accomplished: bring new life to our people. The hall fell silent. Serena stood up with authority, but her face showed a mix of emotions. The rite has already proven its worth, Naraya. Are you sure? Naraya replied with a challenging gleam in her eyes. Oh, you fear that this union will be a failed experiment, like the previous ones. Enos observed the tension on Serena's face. He knew that his partner's pride was at stake, but he also understood the importance of what Naraya was suggesting. He stepped forward, interrupting the confrontation. If this is the test you need, I am willing to face it. He looked at Serena, his eyes filled with determination. We will do it together. The following night, Enos and Serena were taken to the Temple of the Ancestors, a sacred place for the Valkyrie. The temple, built inside a mountain, was covered in translucent crystals that reflected colorful lights on the walls. Serena seemed more solemn than ever, and as they walked toward the heart of the temple, Enos felt her nervousness. What is happening? He asked, breaking the silence. Serena stopped in front of a large door decorated with ancient symbols. Her hands rested on the engravings as she spoke. This is not just a ritual, Enos. What we are about to attempt has not worked in centuries. If we fail, we will not only lose the respect of my people, we could lose much more. Enos placed a hand over hers, feeling the strength and vulnerability he admired so much. I trust you. No matter what happens, we are in this together. Serena nodded, her gaze filled with gratitude and determination. The door opened, revealing an inner chamber where a pool of crystal-clear water emitted a warm glow. This place was known as the Spring of Life, a location where, according to Valkyrie legends, the energy of their lineage intertwines with the essence of their ancestors. Naraya and several advisors watched from the shadows. The ritual must be completed here, under the light of the spring. If your lineages are truly compatible, the union will bring forth a spark of new life, Naraya said in a tone that seemed both a warning and an instruction. Serena took Enos' hand, leading him to the edge of the water. Are you sure about this? She asked in a whisper. Enos looked into her eyes, seeing everything they had faced together. More sure than ever. The energy of the spring enveloped them. As they entered the water, it felt as if the universe itself were watching, whispering through the crystals that vibrated with a rhythm Enos could feel in his chest. Serena guided him, her movements sure and precise. But there was something more in the atmosphere, a deeper connection that made him feel every thought and emotion of his partner. When their bodies united in the center of the spring, the light of the crystals reached its peak, enveloping them in an explosion of golden energy. Uranus felt a wave of warmth wash over him, as if something ancient and powerful were accepting him. The water around them began to glow intensely, and a chorus of murmurs filled the chamber. The advisors watched in awe as the spring responded to the union of Uranus and Serena, something that had not happened in generations. Finally, when the light began to fade, Serena leaned toward him, her breath quickening. Something is happening, she whispered, bringing a hand to her abdomen, where a soft glow emanated. Uranus held her, his heart racing. Niraya approached, her eyes wide. "It's impossible," she said in a trembling voice. "No, it is not," Serena replied, her voice firm yet filled with emotion. "This is just the beginning." The return to the citadel was marked by an air of reverence. The news of what had occurred in the temple spread quickly among the Balkari. For many, what they had witnessed was a miracle, the first sign of hope in generations. Serena, now more united than ever, understood that their union was not just a symbol of peace, but a promise of rebirth for the Balkari. However, both knew that this would also bring new threats. As the couple prepared to face the challenges ahead, they could not help but feel captivated by what they had achieved together. Uranus held Serena's hand, his gaze fixed on the starry horizon. "This is just the beginning," he said with a smile that concealed both excitement and determination. Serena nodded, her face illuminated by a mix of pride and hope. "It is, and we will face it together." The glow of the spring of life marked a turning point for the Balkari. The news that Serena carried within her, the first child of a union between species, spread like wildfire throughout T-Novar. While many warriors celebrated the miracle, others viewed it as a threat to the purity of their lineage. This rift, fueled by decades of prejudice and tradition, began to tear the Balkari apart from within. Uranus and Serena barely had time to process what had occurred. The Sealor Citadel, once a place of pride and strength, filled with tensions. The more conservative factions, led by Niraya, began to openly conspire against Serena, arguing that her choice would endanger the very identity of the Balkari. One night, while Serena rested in her quarters, Uranus stood on the terrace, vigilant. The calm of the night was deceptive. He knew that the resentment of the conservative factions could erupt at any moment. His hand rested on his weapon, a human relic he had brought with him despite the restrictions. His military instinct kept him alert. A whisper distracted him. Uranus turned just in time to see Korvac, one of the warriors loyal to Niraya, emerge from the shadows with a group of armed fighters. "We came to save our leader from her mistake," Korvac said coldly. "This hybrid child is not a miracle. It is an abomination that will destroy our future." Uranus raised his weapon, stepping between them and the entrance to Serena's quarters. "If you want to reach her, you will have to go through me," he said, his voice filled with determination. Korvac smiled disdainfully. "A human against us? How pathetic." Uranus did not respond. Instead, he fired, his military precision taking down two of the attackers before they could react. But there were too many, and their superhuman strength complicated the fight. As he retreated toward the quarters, Serena appeared armed and with a fierce expression. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice resonating with authority. Her presence halted the attackers for a moment, but the tension did not subside. "Serena, you are no longer our leader," Korvac said, her eyes burning with defiance. "It is time for the Balkari lineage to be purified." Serena exchanged a quick glance with Uranus. With a swift movement, they both leaped into battle. Serena, with her superior strength and speed, took down her enemies with lethal precision, while Uranus covered her flanks with calculated shots. However, the numerical superiority was overwhelming. When all seemed lost, a roar echoed from the depths of the citadel. The warriors loyal to Serena, led by Tierra, her second in command, burst into the room, tipping the balance of the battle. The fight was brutal and chaotic, but finally, the conservatives were subdued. Uranus helped Serena to her feet, both panting from the effort. "This is not over," Serena said, her gaze fixed on Korvac, who was kneeling before her. Korvac looked at her with hatred. You may win this battle, but you will never have the acceptance of our entire people. This hybrid will be the end of us. Serena stepped closer, her eyes shining with a mix of fury and compassion. If that is the price to ensure our future, I am willing to pay it. But you, Korvac, and those who think like you, will have no place in this new beginning. The rebellion of the conservatives was only the first act of a larger war. As Serena and Yanis solidified their position, rumors of what had occurred spread beyond Tu Novar. Other species, fearful of the potential of a hybrid between humans and Valkyrie, began to mobilize. The Krill Coalition, always alert to any opportunity to destroy their enemies, saw this as a threat that needed to be eradicated. They sent an ultimatum to Tu Novar: deliver the hybrid child or face annihilation. Serena and Yanis, now more united than ever, refused to yield. This is not just our child, Serena said during a council meeting. It is a symbol of what we can achieve by leaving our prejudices behind. If the council want war, we will give them war. Yanis, for his part, began training the Valkyrie in human tactics, teaching them strategies that would complement their brute strength with military precision. Serena led with renewed fervor, inspiring her warriors to defend not only their home, but also the future of their species. The final assault came at dawn. The Krell ships descended upon Tu Novar, darkening the skies with their overwhelming numbers. Serena and Yanis stood at the front, fighting side by side as the defenses of the Citadel activated. At the climax of the battle, Serena began to show signs of weakness. Despite her unbreakable strength, the weight of war and her advanced pregnancy were taking their toll. Yanis, always by her side, became her shield, protecting her from attacks while she directed the troops. When the situation seemed desperate, a flash of light emanated from within the citadel. All warriors and soldiers, even the Kessel, stopped, their eyes fixed on the phenomenon. It was Serena and Yanis's child, born prematurely, but surrounded by a radiant energy that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The little one, with the iridescent skin of the Valkyrie and the bright eyes of a human, emitted a force that pushed the Krell back. With a cry of energy, he unleashed a field that disintegrated their ships, forcing a total retreat. The victory was clear, but the price had been high. Serena, exhausted but alive, held her child, while Yanis helped her stay on her feet. Together they gazed at the clear sky, knowing that their struggle had only just begun. The war not only united humans and Valkyrie, but marked the beginning of a new era in the galaxy. The hybrid child, whom they named Camiel, became a symbol of hope and unity. As he grew, he would be trained not only as a warrior but as a bridge between worlds. Yanis and Serena, though marked by battles, remained together, stronger than ever. On the terrace of the Citadel, under the stars that had witnessed their struggle and love, they vowed to move forward, regardless of the challenges the future would present. For in the end, they had proven that love and unity could overcome any barrier, even those that seemed unbreakable.